Hello, dear friends of freedom. Today I heard a very emotional and honorable speech by a Belarusian public figure and former military commander of the Belarusian army, Valery Zakhashchik. Valery is a team member and military advisor of the true president of Belarus, Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. In his appeal to the people of Belarus, he is urging them to not participate in the war in Ukraine. Since I found his speech historically valuable, I decided to translate and share it with you. Here we go. Dear Belarusians and anyone who hears this, already the 8th month in a row, we all get to witness this horrible, cruel and absurd theater which a year ago no reasonable person would have believed to eventually become reality. It is absolutely clear to anyone who has at least a small capability to think for themselves that Russia has already lost this war. Possessing huge resources, Russia is able to prolong its ability to inflict pain, but this only makes Russia's end even more horrible. No one will ever forgive the aggressor the thousands of deaths of peaceful civilians, kids, women and elderly. The warriors of Ukraine will not be able to rest until they avenge each of their fallen comrades. Every destroyed house and infrastructural object will need to be rebuilt, and every additional day of war will make the consequences for the aggressor increasingly more severe. Many people around the world were absolutely surprised by the Ukrainians' readiness to self-sacrifice and their ability to unite against the aggressor despite going through extremely hard conditions. Multiple tens of thousands of Ukrainians left everything behind, even a calm and peaceful life in Europe, to return to Ukraine to go to war. Even in those days, when the enemy was standing at the gates of Kiev. Now a psychological change has happened. Ukrainians have felt that they are stronger, and they will not stop to hunt down the aggressor like a hunter in the forest. Trying to find salvation, the Russian government, which has lost all touch with reality a long time ago, is now trying to force Belarus into actively participating in this war. What is awaiting us when they will succeed with this plan? I believe to have enough experience to answer this question in an appropriate way. I have spent quite a lot of time in Ukraine since February, and I am in contact with various soldiers on the ground. I am absolutely sure that within the first couple of days of the Belarusian intervention, the Mozir oil refinery and the majority of large high-value targets which are located along the Ukrainian border will be destroyed. The same goes for our critical infrastructure in that area. We need to understand that during their counterattack, a very large number of people could be harmed or even killed. The Belarusian armed forces will lose most of the officers, as has already happened with the Russians, since the means of communication and the commanding capabilities of the Belarusian troops are even more outdated and primitive than the ones of the Russians. All control systems will be located and destroyed. The Ukrainian attitude towards Belarusian invaders will be even tougher than towards the Russians. Ukrainians have no illusions anymore towards the Russians, but they have truly seen the Belarusian nation as a brotherly nation and a fellow neighbor, until not too long ago. A sneaky step in the back will cause a terrible reaction. The Ukrainians are very well prepared for an invasion from the direction of Belarus. There can be no doubt that there will be very high losses. Are the people of Belarus ready to receive their sons in thousands of body bags? Participation in this aggression undoubtedly will cause the activation of Belarusian patriots who will be ready to fight and save the honor and reputation of the Belarusian nation. The number of our volunteer fighters in Ukraine will increase significantly. Belarusian troops in Ukraine will be met by their fellow countrymen who will be significantly better prepared, armed and motivated. Belarus will immediately become a global outsider and will inevitably share the humiliating defeat with the Russian Federation and will also be forced to pay reparations for decades. The armed forces of Ukraine at the moment are the strongest army in Europe. With such support from the entire civilized world, they will be able to handle an attack from the north. Only this time there will be nothing that could hold the Ukrainians back from using the full power of their entire arsenal of modern weapons against the Belarusian aggressor. All wars eventually come to an end. This war will end faster than many people might think. The end of the war will inevitably lead to a historic change in our way of life that we have all become accustomed to for several decades. The lies of the propaganda, manipulation of facts, and the wrong understanding of terms and meanings will stop working. White will become white, and good will become good once again. Think about this not too distant future. What will be your role in it? Will you be a full-fledged respected member of society or a defendant in an international war crimes tribunal? The future Belarus needs us. It is not too late to stop destroying your future. Think about it. People of the military political leadership of Belarus, the future of our country depends on you more than ever. For many years, the system has forgiven you your mistakes and has allowed you your experiments, while the consequences of your wrongdoings were limited to making the Belarusian army more and more outdated and lowering the living standards and civil rights of Belarusians. All this happened very gradually, and not everyone could assess the results. The price of your mistake to participate in this war would be fatally high. The destructive consequences will manifest themselves in a matter of weeks. And the worst thing is that this decision will be irreversible. Are you not afraid that your own children and grandchildren will condemn you? While a very large number of Belarusians simply will not be able to have children if you decide to get involved. The most important question is, why all this? Why do we need this? Ukraine has never threatened Belarus and doesn't do it even today. Ukraine is showing phenomenal restraint and has never responded to missiles and drones flying from the territory of Belarus, although it has long had sufficient combat potential for such a response. I assess this as great wisdom of the Ukrainian people, who are calculating the development of this situation several steps ahead, because the inevitable killed and wounded peaceful Belarusians who would be harmed by the Ukrainian counterattacks will divide our nations for decades. You, the military political leadership of Belarus, will claim that Belarus has become too dependent of the Russian Federation and cannot refuse to participate in their aggression. This argument is absolutely invalid. Belarusians are a phenomenally smart, hardworking and enterprising nation. It is only necessary to give people the freedom to show their talents, and we will definitely become an independent, successful European state in a few years' time. I know what I am talking about because for many years I have had the honor of leading a large team of Belarusians working in several European countries. I urge you to realize the seriousness of what is happening and the terrible possible consequences. Each of us, perhaps in varying degrees, can affect the future of Belarus. If we allow this war to come to our land, no one will be able to not be affected by this. Dear fellow Belarusians, I call for your common sense and your awareness of responsibility for the future of our children. Thanks for watching. Please consider subscribing, upvoting and commenting to support more translations of historically important content. Thank you.